Hi, this is Sheila Scarborough, and this is part two of a series about inexpensive travel souvenirs. I'm a writer. I specialize in travel and drag racing, but today we'll talk about the travel side of things in this part two of where to find those interesting souvenirs for your travels. This time I want to talk about the things that everybody brings home, including me, the ubiquitous coffee mug and t-shirt souvenir. It's okay, you can still get them, but my secret to having cool ones is to look for the usual item, but from an unusual source. First of all, you have to get very, very picky about your t-shirts and your coffee mugs. After a while, if you buy one of just kind of any old thing, you're going to be overrun with items that really don't mean that much to you. So you need to be very pernickety about whether you're going to pull your wallet out and actually buy one of these things, because even doing that, if you're like me, you'll have a ton of them. Let's start with coffee mugs. The way to have an interesting or unusual coffee mug or t-shirt or anything like that is to get it in kind of an unusual or fun place. For example, this is one of my favorite mugs, and it's from the Bluebonnet Cafe in Marble Falls, Texas. Little town in the hill country. Bluebonnet has been there for forever. One thing that they specialize in, besides your basic down-home cooking, is pies. They have fabulous cream pies, meringue pies, every kind of pie you can think of. In fact, they have a pie happy hour from 3 to 5 every day, where you get a slice of pie and a glass of tea or coffee to go with it, just to get you through the afternoon. So look for those little out-of-the-way places. Nobody's going to want to get a McDonald's coffee mug. Look for those out-of-the-way places to eat, and if you enjoy them, then a coffee mug from that place is a fun souvenir to get. Also, look beyond the obvious when it comes to places that you visit. Memphis, Tennessee, for example. Yes, I went to Graceland. You got to do Elvis in Memphis. But I also went to Sun Studio, which was Sam Phillips's recording studio, where a whole lot of rock and roll and other artists got their start, including Elvis, in fact. Wonderful, tiny little studio with a great tour, and I really enjoyed my time there. And this reminds me a lot of rockabilly, Jerry Lee Lewis, Elvis, Johnny Cash, and a whole lot of other cool people that I learned about at Sun Studio. Also think about getting something that maybe has something from the language from the country that you go to. Here is a Dutch coffee mug. And all you Dutch folks are going to have to get back to me if I've messed this up. But as far as I know, this says life begins at 40. And because it's in Dutch, I think it's really neat, and it reminds me of the time that I was fortunate to live in the Netherlands for a couple of years. And finally, I reserve this mug, Cafe Du Monde from New Orleans, of course. Love this mug, and it's really not all that unusual, but I only drink from it on Sunday. I don't know what that accomplishes, but every Sunday at least I think about New Orleans. I think about that fascinating city, and I enjoy my Sunday cup of coffee from my Cafe Du Monde mug. Obviously, these things are pretty breakable, kind of tough to ship home or to get home in your luggage. If you're worried about breakability, think about a commuter mug or a plastic coffee mug. You can find them everywhere. This is from one of my favorite coffee shops in Rhode Island, Ocean Coffee Roasters. They're in a variety of places in Rhode Island, and you get this gargantuan coffee mug from them, and reminds me of Little Rhodey. You can find coffee mugs around the world. This one is from the Pacific Coffee Company in Hong Kong. It has a neat photograph of the subway terminus on the Kowloon side, what it used to look like at the turn of the century. And it's nice because it's a local Hong Kong chain, Pacific Coffee Company. And yes, everywhere you go, you can get the standard plastic coffee mug. You can also get a koozie. Now, you know what a koozie is, right? Koozies are those little sleeves that you slip over your cans or your bottles of whatever to keep them cold. You can find koozies just about everywhere. I found one even in Noosa, Australia. What's interesting about koozies from other places is that they are sized for the typical drink in that country. So this is actually a little narrow. I don't know if Australian bottles and and cans are more narrow than U.S. ones, but I did find a koozie, and I can usually jam something in there when I want to use it. And I got this one in Breaux Bridge, Louisiana. Did a little Louisiana trip a few years ago. The Bayou Cabins, a place that I stayed in Breaux Bridge, right on the bayou, and that reminds me of that place. Again, you can get overrun with koozies and with coffee mugs, so you have got to be brutal once you get a collection that you like about adding to it, because pretty soon you'll not have any room in any of your cabinets for anything if you just keep buying the blasted things. Clothing, t-shirts. Everybody does the souvenir t-shirt. I do the souvenir t-shirt. You can also do other souvenir items of clothing. For example, in Key West, Florida, they make these things called Kino sandals, flip-flops, whatever you call them. Essentially Naga hide on a rubber sole. El Cheapo, $12 a piece, I believe. They come in a rainbow of colors. These are a little skanky because I've worn them a lot. But, you know, what a fun souvenir. You got to kind of go behind a little alleyway and down into the area where they make them in the factory. You can get them in every size and every color. They're ridiculously cheap. And it's a nice pair of shoes that you can pick up. One of the few inexpensive things these days in Key West, Florida. When I was in Japan, everybody seemed to be carrying a handkerchief. I've never been a handkerchief person. I'm a Kleenex gal. But all of a sudden, I felt a burning desire for a handkerchief. And my gosh, they sell them everywhere in Japan. Every woman seems to have a little handkerchief, and every man tucked into their pocket or into their purse. And goodness knows you can get them in all sorts of colors. Just a cotton handkerchief, it's great when you're washing your hands after using the bathroom, or if you're hot and sweaty and you need to use it. And you can find them everywhere in Japan. And once I started using them, I don't know quite how I live without them. Neck scarves, handy for when it's cold. A lot of times you can pick up a souvenir one. This one is a special Christmas one from Radio City Music Hall in New York. One of my daughter's favorite neck scarves to wear in the wintertime. Also, another one of her favorites, Manchester United. Sorry if I'm offending any other any footy fans for other teams, but the Man U's scarf was inexpensive and was a fun souvenir of our time in the UK. Now the t-shirt. T-shirts, you need to go someplace interesting so you can get an interesting t-shirt. In Oslo, Norway, for example, Kon-Tiki Museum, the story of a Norwegian explorer back in, I think it was 1947, who built a balsa wood raft and sailed on it across the Pacific. Fascinating story. Tor Heyerdahl, Kon-Tiki, went to the museum there in Oslo where they have the original balsa wood raft that you can see. And this is sort of my seafaring t-shirt. Love to wear this one because I had a great time and learned a lot from also reading the book and watching the video. In London, a British company, Savage London, had a series of fun t-shirts. This particular one, Andy Warhol's portrayal of Queen Elizabeth in her younger days, Lizzie. I always wear this and feel sort of, well, not as mod as Carnaby Street, but it's a fun t-shirt from the UK. When I was in Poland, I picked up a t-shirt from a local basketball team. I cannot pronounce the first. I can't pronounce the first word, but the second is Wrocław for Polish folks. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I got a lot of training from a Polish colleague. But this is a Wrocław basketball team, and I wasn't able to spend that much time in Wrocław, but that does bring back fond memories of their local athletic team. And then if you stay in funky places like the Shack Up Inn in Clarksdale, Mississippi on the old Hobson Plantation, then you too can have a t-shirt from Mississippi's oldest B&B, not bed and breakfast, but according to the Shack Up Inn guys, it is bed and beer. Shack Up Inn, great place for you blues fans there on the Blues Highway, Highway 61 in Clarksdale, Mississippi. So t-shirts, coffee mugs, yeah, you can make them kind of interesting. Even the ubiquitous ball cap. I like the word ubiquitous, sorry. Even the ball cap. You can find a ball cap just about anywhere. This is from another football team, and they are based in Rotterdam. I happened to need a hat. It was a sunny day when I was in Rotterdam, and it's much more interesting to have something from a local football, soccer team in Rotterdam than some of the alternatives. It was a nice hat, and I like red. So when you're looking for those souvenirs that everybody has from their travels, sure, you can get them like everybody else, but you can find really interesting ones if you poke around hard enough. Thanks.